Hello and welcome back to Lightworker Training. My name is Tatiana and I'm so grateful to be joining with you today to continue our exploration on the energy of shame, trauma, trauma-based programming, and reclaiming inner authority, which is the topic of today's video. So I've been talking about the significance of unresolved trauma, some inner world processes that we can do to heal this trauma, to rewrite the programs that are based on this trauma energy. And today I'm going to be talking about reclaiming our inner authority and what I'm even talking about. So right off the bat, when you're working on this piece of reclaiming your inner authority, the first thing you have to do is recognize the difference between your authentic inner authority, you being in your power, being a badass, being a powerful healer, being a powerful presence in the world and in your life, in all of the aspects of your life. The difference between that and just playing out your toxic authority programming. Okay, so we've all been indoctrinated into systems of toxic authority, and these toxic authority figures have imprinted through trauma, right? Imprinted these programs and these patterns, right? That we act out over and over and over again until we go, wow, I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm interested in healing everything. So if that's you, you're in the right place. And if that's you and you're interested in doing it through energy and consciousness, just with the power of your mind and your heart and the actions that you take in any part of your life, then you're in the right place, because that's what I'm going to be talking about in all of these videos. So how do we tell the difference between what is us authentically taking charge and being the inner authority and what is us playing a role as the toxic authority figure, like reading the toxic authority figure script that we were handed? Okay, so just tune into this with me and feel what resonates for you. So the way that I find is the most helpful and clear way to discern these two energies that may manifest in many different forms, right? But what they have in common with each other, well, okay, so let me put it this way. All of the authentic stuff and all of the toxic stuff, right? It manifests in all these different forms. However, each one of those groups of forms has an underlying energy, okay? So the way you can recognize, rather than focusing on all the different forms and trying to memorize all the different forms and all the different scripts, you just look at the underlying energy, which is what I'm all about. I talk about this in all the videos, right? You look at the underlying energy. This is how you cut through the crap and save yourself just tons and tons of time and energy and money even, okay? So it's very clear. This goes back to principles and things like light work versus dark work, that you are either aligned with the energy of love or you're underlined with, or you're aligned with the energy of fear, right? So in the love category, we have the oneness of creation and beauty and joy and peace and freedom and all of the things that we say that we'd like to experience, right? And on the fear side, we have separation, lack, limitation, control, fighting over the scraps because there's not enough for, I can get one over on you and it won't affect me, right? Whereas in the love column, it's all win-win. Everything's a win-win. Okay, so one of those things is real and one of those things is an artificial construct, right? So I'm not talking about the energy of actual body fear that arises in the moment when, you're in a real survival kind of situation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this kind of underlying fear energy, survival energy, base level consciousness that's interwoven throughout all of these things. So it's one thing to be afraid for a second because something startled you, but is that a way of life? I guess it is in this world, but wow, what a weird world where there's this energy of fear that like permeates everything. And the reason why fear and separation and all of these things are so important and the division is so important is because this is how people get controlled. And this is also how we go into that kind of the mentality of that cult. It is a cult because it is a belief system. It does not exist without our belief in it. Our belief in it is literally the only thing that keeps this whole system going. It's a parasitic system that has to harvest our energy, our belief, our attention, et cetera, to keep going, right? So if you withdraw your energy from something and it collapses, that must mean that it's a made up thing. So this is really important to discern these underlying energies, which is why I talked about this at the very beginning. So if you haven't watched those early videos, please watch them because I'm building on this knowledge base. It's going to keep building as we go through this, through these videos. Right? So you have to understand this because as soon as you understand that, you get it. Everything starts lining up and you're like, okay, really, it just comes down to this one choice, which is this or that. And I can apply that to anything. So you can apply it to, is this my authentic inner authority, or is this some toxic crap that's part of this cult of separation? So the vibration of that is going to be very different. And tuning into the vibration, is it higher level consciousness? Is it base level consciousness? Does it feel like it's coming from a place of love, or does it feel like it's coming from a place of fear? Does it come from a place of needing to control? That's a sign that you're on the fear spectrum. So these are things that can help you tune in, right? But I would invite you to just start to be aware of these different states of being and when you go from one to the other. And what I'm putting on your radar is that if you want to be your authentic, powerful self in your own inner authority and starting to trust that, then you need to align with what's real, not some made up crap. Okay. So I talked about healthy shame versus toxic shame in the last video, so I'm not going to go over all that again. You just have to go back and watch it. What was that video called? I think I have a note here. Rewriting trauma-based programs. So go back and look at that. I talk about the difference between healthy shame and toxic shame. That is going to be the difference that you notice between the inauthentic and authentic, right? So healthy shame is authentic. So your inner authority would be like, damn, I need to make amends. That was not cool what I did. I need to resolve this situation. Now, the toxic inner authority figure is going to be like, oh my God, you're such a piece of shit. How could you? Ugh, you're disgusting. You should kill yourself. Like, that's not a healthy authority figure, right? That shaming and blaming. And it's like the reason why it feels so incredibly oppressive is it's not even your shit to heal, right? When it's your shit, when you actually did something that you need to make amends for, you'll feel that feeling in your heart of like, oh man, I feel so bad that I did that. But it's not so, it doesn't feel so life threatening. It doesn't feel so life or death, because you know, like, hey, I got this. I can correct this. This, it's going to maybe take a little bit of work, but I got this, right? The other one, it feels overwhelming, like you're going to die, because you cannot heal that. You can't heal it. First of all, because it wasn't ever your energy to begin with. You took on somebody else's toxic shit. And can you ever heal anything that's not yours to heal? Go look at my video called Can You Heal Someone Else? Spoiler alert, no, you can't. You can never heal something that's not yours to heal. That's why it feels so oppressive, right? This is how the system works. It gets you to buy into some shit that you're never, ever, ever going to be able to heal. And then it's got you. But you can always choose again, right? Okay. So with the healthy shame and the toxic shame, same kind of deal. Love and fear, same kind of deal. Real, fake, same kind of deal. Sane, insane, same kind of deal. We've got inner authority and the inner critic, which is my favorite phrase for the toxic authority figure. You can think of it as the toxic authority figure. I just use inner critic because it's faster to say. And it goes along with the inner child, right? So there's you, the adult self. There's the inner child, the one that is the survivor, right? That needs your help. And then there's the inner critic, which is the imprinting that you received from the toxic authority figure. And you took it on as a coping mechanism. And then you kept playing it out, shaming yourself like the toxic authority figure. Right? And you're like, well, this seems to be what everybody else in this wackadoo world is doing. I guess I'll take on this inner critic program, and maybe that's how I make it in this world. How's that working for us? How's that working? Not that good, right? So just feel into that vibe for yourself. You as the inner authority versus that shit talking inner critic voice in your head. It sounds like you because it's in your mind, but it's not you. So just like we outpicture the inner child self, we can outpicture the inner critic self. And that is really powerful. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but I just want to put that on your radar. So I talked about this a little bit already. What is the inner critic energy? It's the toxic authority imprints or programs that we received. A lot of times they just dump it right in our space. Sometimes they do it in a way that feels really terrifying, or it comes along with some kind of abuse. And then that's the best way to get these toxic programs in is through some kind of trauma. And you'll see this all, like trauma-based mind control is a real thing. So check it out. If you haven't looked at this at all, check it out. You don't have to take my word for it, but I'm just going to say it's a really effective mind control technique. So The children end up getting it through their families who got it through, all of these different systems. So systems imprint throughout the course of the person's life. And then that person, has a kid. And then if they haven't healed all their shit, they just put it on that kid. And then it just cycles keep going until we say, nope, the buck stops here. I'm going to heal everything. And I'm not going to continue these cycles of abuse. So it is important to recognize that the inner critic isn't you, but when you took it on, you felt like you didn't have a choice, so please be compassionate with the inner child self who had no other choice but to take on some of these imprints and patterns and programs. Okay, so it was a coping mechanism that was necessary for survival. And it's a control mechanism. So I talked about this, right? This is the easiest way to control is through shaming and trauma and imprinting these trauma-based programs and shame programs, right? Base level consciousness, easy to control, right? Get people in that fear and separation place, terrorize them and shame them until they, it starts to warp their will. And then you can control them when they're in this place of not being in their inner authority. So when we're kids, we didn't have a choice, right? We didn't have a choice. That's why we got to outpicture these kids, have compassion for them, but recognize that's not us anymore. Same thing with the inner critic, So that's the inner critic. So when you outpicture the inner critic, you might see it show up in all different forms. Maybe at one point it looks like your mom, and then it shapeshifts into, an old teacher or a cop or, some authority figure or something, could be anything. Could be anything. So we're taught to put our authority outside of ourselves, and that toxic authority, it's problematic because what it seeks to do is control others. So anytime you go into a mind state where you feel like your well-being depends on what somebody else is doing, that you have to control what somebody else is doing, that's your fast track to solving a problem, is getting that person to change. Good luck with that. But that toxic authority does seek to control others. And let's be real, there are a lot of psychopaths in this world who are seeking to control others, right? We see them all the time. They're put before us like idols that we should worship. Anyway, anytime we're aligning with that system, it's a great reminder that we got off track and we can get back to the authentic inner authority. Authentic inner authority only seeks to control the self, because the authentic inner authority understands that the self is the only thing that can be controlled. Self-control is a good thing. All you can control is how you're going to run your own energy field, what thoughts you're going to energize, how you're going to process your feelings about things, actions you're going to take. That is what you have control over. And that, if you really, really take control of those things, then you will start to be a real influencer. Not these people who maybe aren't even real people that are these influencers that are put forward. See, the control system understands how all this stuff works. They understand, these folks, and their think tanks understand human psychology, right? They know that it's either program or be programmed. Watch my video on program or be programmed if you haven't watched that. You're either being influenced by the collective, which is what run by base level consciousness, by the systems of control, right? The parasitic systems which seek to control us all. Or you're in that vibration of, I'm taking full responsibility for what happens right here, and I'm influencing the field of creation. I'm projecting my will into the field of creation, right? That's the choice. So with taking that total responsibility for what happens in your energy field, with great responsibility comes great power. We've been taught that with great power comes great responsibility. And we're like, yeah, right. These people in power, the powers that be, or the powers that shouldn't be, or whatever you want to call them, like, they're not taking great they're not taking great responsibility. But don't get it twisted, because what's real, there are these like very real but hidden truths that are all there in plain sight for us to discover. There is a truth here that if we take total responsibility, we will have total power over how we run our own energy field. And we can use that power to influence the field of creation. And we will start to see things show up in the external world that mirrors that to us. How do we reclaim our inner authority? Let's break it down. So first of all, we got to sort out the energy. If there's some shit in our space, especially toxic shame, the best thing that we can do is return to sender. Anybody else's crap. So a lot of this stuff, I've been talking about how it gets imprinted or projected into our field, and then we take it on because we felt like we probably didn't have a choice in the matter. So it's really important to send it back. Return to sender, return to sender. If you don't know how to sort energy and return to sender, I have an audio up in the shop at lightworkertraining.org. And I'll walk you through a process. I have a bunch of recordings there where I walk you through a process, and I think they're all $5, you know? So for $5, you can learn this process that could change your life. You have to apply it. You can't just listen to it and be like, okay, I'm good. No, you have to, you know, I'm returning stuff all day long, like, no, not mine, not mine, not mine. All right. It's really that easy, but you have to actually make the choice, right? So we're going to sort it out. If it's not yours, send it back. And then, okay, where am I at now? Okay, I feel like there is a piece here for me. So if there is a piece for you, it's absolutely essential that you take responsibility for it, right? This is your power. Take responsibility for it. And then do your inner world process like I outlined in Go Within or Go Without, that video, 2 videos ago, I think. Do that process, you know, reparent the inner child, do your inner world work, outpicture the child. You are the healer. You are the only one who can help that child. You can give that child exactly what they need because you're the only one who knows what they needed in that situation, right? And so just like we outpicture the inner child, you can outpicture the inner critic that gets in your space and says, you know, what do you think you're doing? Like, you're such a fraud or what, you know, the inner critic's always got some shit they're talking, right? So just say, no, no, bitch, not today, not today, Satan. Just say no to the inner critic and say no to these toxic authority figures that got in your head and got you to believe their cultish bullshit, right? So that's really important to say no to this stuff that shows up masquerading as you, right? You think it's you think you're beating up on yourself. I got news for you. That's the toxic authority figure, the inner toxic authority figure, the inner critic beating up on your helpless inner child, right? And you think it's you, but it's not. These are not, like, one of them was never you, right? And one is a past self that needs your help. So the inner critic, the fastest way to deal with it is just say, no, get the fuck out of here. Or at least get in the back seat, because you're not driving this vehicle anymore. I'm going to be taking care of this situation. I am the adult. I'm the sane one. I'm the one who maybe it feels like I might not have all the skills that I need yet, but I know I care and I have love and I have a desire to do better, which is a lot better than the systems of control, because they don't want you to do better. They don't want you to be in a vibration of love. So trust me, you're going to do a lot better parenting job than probably your parents or these toxic parent figures, right? So, think about it like cops, teachers, priests, the government, figures in the government, things like that. They're all put forward to us as these surrogate parental figures, right? And ultimately, they are substitutes for not only our authentic inner authority, but for God. They're playing God. So oftentimes I see this where, and I saw this for myself personally, and I see this with a lot of folks that I work with and folks that I talk to, is that they start to get it twisted where they project the toxic authority programming onto God, because the toxic authority figures of this world didn't protect me. They didn't love me enough. They were abusive. They were controlling. They were evil. Therefore, God is evil. So I'm not talking about some of these like lower level gods that are, not really of the highest vibration. I'm talking about like the source, right? The source of all of the light and love of creation. All right. So let's see, where was I with that? I got a little bit off track. Yeah, because this is a big one. The projecting that the mistrust of authority onto yourself and your higher self, and ultimately to God, is something we all need to deal with sooner or later. So I'll just put that on the psychic pin board, coming soon to a thought experiment near you. But yeah, something to contemplate. Are you projecting this shit onto God? Okay, so just say no to the toxic authority projections in your space. Send it back to wherever it came from. Do your inner world process. You can do that without picturing the inner child. You can do that without picturing the inner critic, where you just turn around and you look right at that inner critic and you look at it and you're like, oh, wow, you're actually like some kind of freaky demon. Or, oh, wow, you're just like a little troll, or they show up in all different ways, or, oh God, you're my fourth grade teacher, ew. So however they show up, then you can deal with them in your imaginational inner world work. And this is really powerful. As we do this, we're hacking the subconscious programming and we're clearing the energy. It's a very powerful shamanic practice that relies on your imagination, your intuition, your empathy, your connection to source energy. And so sometimes, like, those things have been smushed throughout the course of our lives. It can feel a little awkward at first to get back in touch with those ways of being, but don't even worry about it. Everything's awkward at first when you first try it, right? You're not going to be that great at it. I talk about that in the video, Begin Again, about just daring to suck at doing something new. So it's going to be a little bit weird at first, but this is how we learn. This is how we grow. This is how we do better. And really, if you apply your genius, your creativity, your will, and your love, however that manifests, you will be successful and you will come to trust in yourself and your inner authority more and more. You will know that you can take care of that inner child self, that you can give them the love and protection, that you can protect them from that bully, the internal bully, you know, and create a healthier dynamic there. So that's about all I want to say for this video. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Lightworker Training. If you have any questions, comments, please put them down in the section below. And if you have any thing where you feel like you want to talk to me in a more private space, please feel free to email me or book a session, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time on Lightworker Training. Bye for now.